Daniel, the left is always trying to destroy the nuclear family, husband and wife, sexual morality, faithfulness, parents, children. Today, when we look at the drag queens dancing in front of kids in libraries, sometimes I wonder how come they're not dancing for senior citizens in old age homes? They're dancing in front of the kids. But we'll get to that another time. Uh, but I think about Fyodor Dostoevsky, what a prophet. And in many of his works, but especially in The Devils, he writes about how these revolutionaries are planning and they're saying we'll just cause mass promiscuity and all this sexual freedom and promiscuity. And within all of this sexual perversion and promiscuity, then we'll build the dictatorship. What a prophet in many respects. And then Lenin comes around. And we know that whole Leninist philosophy and what they tried to implement about free sex and free love and promiscuity and getting rid of that bond between the man and the woman and that faithfulness. And we think about, it's very interesting that the Bible wants and teaches us, and our Creator and our Lord wants the man with the woman to be faithful to one another, and that's it, and to have a family. And then the left wants the opposite of that. Even the Weather Underground, what they wanted within their own ranks. They didn't want, jealousy, that's just a man-made thing, and there shouldn't be boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife. They also wanted all of that, the promiscuity amongst all of their members. And you show back in the early 19th century, mid-19th century, these communist communes that wanted to abolish marriage and private property, etc. But it's kind of a terrifying, scary chapter that you show, because they're just going to create free love and they're going to create this utopia. And all you see is all this, you see Hades. Tell us about that.
So even starting out in the 1820s and the 1830s, you had these first communes in America, and the people who lived in them were known as communists. Now, every leftist revolution, as you kind of mentioned, really was accompanied by this kind of promiscuity. And the idea, the central idea of all this was that, we're going to abolish private property, which means nothing is exclusive to anybody. And of course, it means that in relationships, nothing is exclusive to anybody. You're not going to have a husband and wife. You're not going to have a woman who's exclusive to one man or a man who's exclusive to one woman. And then also, you're not going to have children that are exclusive to one parent or one couple. The children are in common, everything is in common, the men and the women are all in common, and the property is all in common. This was really the essence of what communism originally was. You would have these communes in order to be able to experiment with this whole entirely idealized new way of life, which of course would usher in promiscuity, would shatter the basic normal human bonds. And this is a very important issue for the left, because the left really needs to be able to reinvent, as we discussed earlier, everything from scratch. It needs to start everything from scratch, which means demolishing every kind of human relationship and every kind of human norm. And the family is the most fundamental norm of all. And when you really see the extremes, you really see various fascist communist movements, they go after the family, they go after human relationships, and make sure there can be nothing outside of their system. And they're still very much at it today, as we unfortunately see all too often. And back 200 years ago, they were at this again. They were creating communes in which they set out to abolish the institution of marriage. Of course, they abolished private property. And they had this vision of utopian societies in which children would have no relationships with their parents, in which husbands and wives, there would be no husbands and wives, men and women would just freely drift. And there would be this ideal society. And why is it an ideal society? Because the left would have total control. There would be nothing there except the left, not even human relationships.
And what you describe in this utopia, they're just creating this heaven on earth and everybody's having free love and it's just going to be great. And there's women that are saying, this guy is coming into my room raping me every evening. Can I have a lock on my door? And they're not even allowing locks. And because locks are from the old oppressive patriarchal world, and there's actually real abuse going on and rape going on of women, and they can't lock the door. And then there was also a lot of racism and just really horrifying things that you've documented, Daniel.
Yeah, one of the first of these communes in America was based on slave labor, because who's going to work for free? Well, if you get slaves to work for you, you can then use them as experiments. And the entire idea of the commune, by the way, including the Soviet collective farms, a lot of that dates back to a French socialist named Fourier, again, very early in the 19th century. And he has this idea: there's not going to be families, there isn't going to be marriage, everybody's going to live on these massive communes with thousands of people there. And as far as relationships go, there's going to be a ritualized prostitution core of women who are going to be there to service men. And this guy is really the apex of the philosopher of these communes and these socialist systems. And this is what they were thinking of to begin with. So sexual abuse was very much always on the menu. It's core to these leftist systems, because what the left really promises, what it really offers, is the opportunity to abuse other people, to take their property, to have power over them. That is the real secret appeal of the left.
And they really don't want a man and a woman to love each other and to be a unit unto themselves and to be faithful to each other and to love each other and just to be completely loyal to one another. That is one of the greatest threats to the totalitarian order, isn't it?
It is indeed. You're only supposed to love the beloved leader. You're supposed to love the doctrine. You are not supposed to love each other. There's not supposed to be any conflicts there. The leftist man gods are very jealous gods, and you shall have nothing else to worship, not churches, not synagogues, not other people over them.
Mm-hmm. And they literally banned marriage, right?
Yeah, well, the whole premise of these communes was that there would be no marriage within these. We have these Hamas occupations on campuses, and we have the Chazes they created. The left has been creating these all over the time. And yes, the first thing you do is you grab the space and you abolish all the existing rules and you impose your own rules within the space. So the communes had that premise: that we're going to abolish marriage, we're going to abolish religion, and of course, we're going to abolish private property and then begin everything anew.